Hey everyone, Jim King here with King Piers. There's a war going on between residential structural engineers and King Piers, me. When I started doing foundation repair many years ago, I'd go to a house and I'd see a previous contractor had been in there and put in some wall braces, and he had done it according to what the structural engineer, the residential structural engineer, charged the people and gave them a printout of what to do. They would do it, and then I would go look at it and I would tell them, this is engineering 101 fail. And this has been going on for, like I said, since at least 2010. And the foundation repair industry, the companies that do foundation repair, I don't know who teaches them how to do it. I don't know if they're, it's just the way they're groomed and how they're told to do it, but it's just not, it's wasting money, and it's ruining foundations and ceiling joists and all kinds of things, and basement floors. So let's say you're out mowing your yard and you notice the load-bearing beams poking through your foundation. That means your wall's leaning in. So you call a structural engineer to get his advice on what to do, how to fix that wall. And if it's only leaning in an inch and a half or something like that, he'll tell you to put in a wall brace, an I-beam, and he'll give you a drawing showing you how to put that wall brace in. And what they show is they don't say to saw cut anything on the floor next to the wall to expose the footing. They just show the footing being there, and the contractor doesn't say saw cut, so he doesn't saw cut. They just jackhammer a hole. And what that does, without that simple saw cut, it leaves little hairline fractures in the concrete basement floor that's going to reappear after the contractor's been paid and he's gone. I just don't believe in causing a further problem in the future for a customer for doing foundation repair. Foundation repair should be done one time. And so literally every structural engineer that's focuses on residential work, they really do not know what they're doing, and they won't listen to reason. And here's the way King Piers does it. I just explained the way everybody else does it. We saw cut next to the wall, the floor. The footing should be about 8 inches out from the wall on the interior. So we saw cut about 8 inches out, hit it with a hammer, and it breaks in a couple pieces, the floor, and there's the footing. We put the bottom of the H-beam on the footing, and we run it up in between the ceiling joists, and we run it till it's about an inch from the subfloor in between the joists. And then we cut off a 6x6 treated wood support beam, and we shove it up in between those ceiling joists, and we use 1/2-inch bolts, 4 on each side, and we bolt it in there in front of that beam, locking it in, not causing any damage to the ceiling joists. Then we sister on 3 foot on each side using 1/2-inch bolts, washers, and nuts. And at the end of that 3 foot sistering on each side, we put another 6x6 treated wood support beam with 1/2-inch bolts. So complete, total difference between the way we do it and the way other people do it. And so I give my opinion when I go to a house. This is not the King Piers methodology. This is everybody else's methodology. So structural engineers, I found out around town that from doing this, they have friends that are in the foundation repair business, and they refer them jobs, and then they get a kickback from that contractor who, for giving them the job. And I don't believe in that. I don't care if I'm ever not recommended. I know, and all my customers know, that we are the very best at what we do. Everything else is a cookie cutter. And we go overboard, overkill on foundation repair. We always have. I feel like you can't do enough sometimes to make a home stable. So we overkill it. And that's the reason for my success. And I went to a house the other day, and this really upset me because It was from a structural engineering firm here in Kansas City. I'm not going to say their names, but they called me about, I don't know, 7 years ago or so, and asked about my pier and figuring the compressive strength, and I let them do that. And I've just had run-ins with them, and I run them off my jobs. The first run-in I had with them, I was building a golf pit for a guy over in Hallbrook, and he had 5 kids, and he said that they all have one thing in common: they play golf. He's got one at KU. That was last year, so that kid's graduated. So now at Christmas time, they have a golf pit. They can all come over and drive golf balls into a net, have fun. Well, that was his dream, and so I go over there, and he tells me what he wants, and I give him an itemized bid from number 1 all the way down to however many bid items there was to finish this thing, and every item had a price. And the first item was to saw cut the basement floor where it's going to go. And I go over there, and we start saw cutting the basement floor, and I was checking on it, making sure everything was good. And then here comes a structural engineer with a set of drawings. The homeowner didn't tell me that he was working with this company, and it's the same company that contacted me originally. And anyway, they hand me a set of drawings, and what they wanted to do is, once I excavated the floor down about 4 feet, they wanted to, so you'd have a footing and a wall of dirt right here. What I proposed to do was, in 4-foot sections, do a section and fill this section up with concrete and use rebar just to stabilize the footing outside the wall. And I was going to pour the footing and the wall all monolithic. That means at the same time, but I was going to really support the footing. So by chiseling out all the dirt underneath at 4 feet, at 4 foot wide, 2 foot in width, because the footing was 2 foot 8 inches thick. Footings are always built to the standard minimum. So this was low strength concrete, probably 2,500 to 3,000 pound concrete. And what this engineering firm wanted to do was drill holes underneath the footing every 8 inches. And what that was going to do, I think the guy had never done this before, but you'd be upside down on your back with a hammer drill, drilling with a 1/2 inch drill bit, a hole 4 inches into the 8 inch footing. And I told him, I'm not going to do that. It's going to tear up the footing. It's going to break. It's low strength. And so basically I told the owner, all you owe me for is saw cutting the floor. You can hire somebody else to do the job, no hard feelings, but I'm not going to do it the way these guys want to do it. You'll have a problem with this wall forever and this footing holding the wall, because I'm not going to break your footing. I do everything. I'm gentle with the footing. I don't want to crack and break and drill holes into that footing. It's ridiculous. But everybody else wants to do that, and I don't play by their rules. I do things how I want to do it, because I've had nothing but 100% success. So anyway, that became a problem. Now they don't like me, and that's good. None of the structural engineers care for me, because when I go to a house, it has become apparent that a residential structural engineer, the walls leaning in are going to have the same piece of paper showing the same way to do it. And it always is. I look at it, it's the same thing, and I wad it up in a wad of paper and put it in my pocket. It's worthless to me. But I've never had to go back on these houses. So my walls, if the wall's leaning in and I do the King Piers 4-step wall straightening process, the footings won't move again. We lift the footings back to their original elevation. So they're locked in there. They're keyway locked on both sides with high strength concrete, and a king pier in the middle of that concrete. So the walls are waterproofed and they're wall braced. And I explained how we put in our wall braces with sistering onto the joists. That's King Pier methodology. It's second to none. And so to all you residential structural engineers out there that, in my opinion, are dumber than a box of sticks, and you keep selling this gimmick to people all over the United States, it's ridiculous. Structural engineers on the commercial side, thumbs up, 5-star. No issues with you guys. And that's the problem, really, is I come from doing nothing but building commercial highways and bridges and things like that. With coming here to resident, there's nobody to inspect your work, so people just slop this stuff in and get paid for it. And then and the warranties are not worth anything. It's trash. The only time a warranty is ever honored is if the home is owned by an attorney. So anyway, that's my gripe, and I wanted to put that out there to the public. So if you want permanent foundation repair means foundation repair should be done one time. If your wall's leaning in, straightened, it should be one-time gig. Shouldn't have to be somebody else come in there and do it again. And the anchors that knocking holes in walls and running bolts out in the yard, guys, I've tore those out. A lifetime of tearing those out. It is a good methodology that works. It will bring a wall back vertical, but it won't keep it there. The Piers methodology, we don't drill holes. I don't do put any further damage to the walls. I gently push it back vertical. We waterproof it on the outside. We epoxy inject it on the inside. We do not use foam. We epoxy inject. If I didn't waterproof on the outside, the epoxy injection on the inside, shooting through the crack, would just go through the crack, down the wall, and into the dirt. Wasting time and money and ripping the customer off. We do it the right way. That's why I videotape my jobs. And so for all you structural engineers out there that are working in residential, start thinking about people's houses. And how your methodology is not working. That angle iron bolted to the ceiling joist 9 out of 10 times in less than 2 years, it's going to be totally split, the ceiling joist. And it's ridiculous to do that. You know, the angle iron, if you want the angle iron, bolt it to my 6x6 treated wood support beam, hold it in the top of the beam. That's beautiful design. But everybody's so, I'm the pioneer. I'm a pioneer. I'm not a cookie cutter. I do things my way, and it's my way or the highway. If you want a cookie cutter, I'll nicely walk off and say good luck to you and God bless you. But I do not want to do anything the way my competition does. So I'm going to leave it right there with that. And for all your foundation repair needs, call me, the nation's best, King Piers, 816-288-4373. You can always go to my website, www.kingpiers.com, or you can call me personally, 816-521-8915. Thank you.